have my 1988 Toyota 4runner.
One of the very first things you notice is obviously the paint. She is shiny. Now this is not the original paint. This is an aftermarket paint job. It is a stage 1 paint. So it's the clear coat mixed with the paint itself. And I actually got this done out in Reno. When I was living out in Mammoth, it was one of the closest places to be able to get the truck repainted. The original color was this kind of light blue. But when I first got the truck, it was actually completely spray painted. Looked super, super ghetto. The wheels were also spray painted black. The paint job itself is almost 5 years old. For stage 1 paint, it has held up very, very well. Unfortunately, I forget what the shop is called out in Reno. If I find it, I will leave it in the description. But they did an amazing job. I chose not to get the inside done just because personally at the time I did not have the funds. I did use spray paint to kind of blend this all in here, but eventually I do hope to get that color matched. Might bring
things that gets the most attention on this truck are actually the wheels, which are a US wheel chrome 37. When I first got these wheels, they're completely spray painted black. I used a paint stripper, which was no easy task. It took almost a day of stripping this paint, and you can actually, if you look up close, you can actually see little bits and pieces of black paint that are still on these wheels. This is a BF Goodrich 33 by 1250 R15.
Now the rock sliders I have on here are all pro rock sliders. I actually just bought these from an old friend who had a first gen off of Facebook. They bought this bumper used from a friend out in Mammoth who actually bent it on the trail and sold it to me for really cheap. So it was one of those just random finds that I jumped on the opportunity. So unfortunately, I can't tell you what bumper it is. If anyone has any idea, please feel free to leave it in the description and I will add it to the build list. Now another mod that gets a lot of attention are the lights here. I originally had some lights on here that were a little bit cheaper. When I got the truck back, I decided to upgrade to Diode Dynamics. These are the C1s. And I kind of modified it myself to have them fit in this flush mount. So this is not something you can necessarily find. You'd have to kind of put it together yourself. The reason those lights are there is because when I first got the truck, there was a big thing of rust all back right here. So I had to cut it out anyway. I was looking for reverse lights and I decided to go ahead and add in a flush mount. So since I had to cut out the rust anyway, I decided to just add some side lights. If you've ever been in Mammoth, it gets really dark. In the mountains, it gets really dark. So as much light as you can get, I figured I'd get like a nice 360 view of having light coming from the side of the truck. One of the other things I had to replace were the taillights. These are not the original taillights. These are, I believe, from Amazon, and they're the more expensive kind with the chrome edge. I believe they're around 75 bucks each online. Now back to the front of the truck. The grille. Unfortunately, it is not original. This is an aftermarket front grille that I got, I believe, off of eBay. You can usually get them for about 90 bucks or so. Along with the front bumper here, which is aftermarket as well. I don't really have any complaints on either of them, except obviously the quality is not as good as the original. You get some wear and tear coming through the plastic, and if you don't keep this dry, this bumper will get some surface rust. So you got to make sure you just keep it clean. Other than that, I've had no issues with it. I wish I had the original, but when you're trying to piece things together, you kind of take with whatever you can get. Which brings me to the bottom valance. The valance is also an aftermarket piece that did not come original when I purchased the truck. You'll notice the blinker lights are now converted to fog lights. These lights are nothing too impressive. They're just some cheap 7-inch LEDs that just happen to fit in this spot. So what I actually did is rewired the lights to work into these side markers, so my blinker actually blinks through right here. You can look it up online. There is a conversion you can do. You just move some wires around, and my blinker is now up here on the side marker lights. Here's the headlights. I forget exactly the brand, but I believe they're on eBay. If you want to look around, just put in the 7x6 headlights for first gen 4runner. I could not find them. This was about 5 years ago, but these lights I've been very happy with. I wanted just kind of a blacked out headlight look, so that's why I went with them, but they're very bright and they've lasted about 5 years now. So one of those upgrades that, yes, I wish it was original, but the light quality is so much better. As far as these plastic pieces on the side, these are not original either. One of those things that did not come with the truck when I first purchased it. Very common for them to be missing. So these are actually aftermarket as well. They faded quite a bit, but other than that, you can pretty much repaint those and they'll be fine. If you're looking to outsource them, I think you can't really go wrong on an aftermarket plastic side piece there. Now you can tell everything looks pretty clean down here. I actually re-spray painted the frame and pretty much everything down here just because it had a little bit of surface rust on it and it just looked really dirty. I sprayed it with with Steel It. So I Steel Itted everything. It's my favorite paint to use, and it just keeps the frame and everything nice and fresh and protected from surface rust. Coming down to the skid plate, it is actually just the stock skid plate. I made it work with the drop bracket lift, so it's actually just kind of balanced in there and bolted up to the top, but for now it works. And along with the Skyjacker lift here is the Skyjacker steering stabilizer, which I actually have a video for, will be posted on my YouTube channel. Make sure to check it out. Coming into the back here is the Skyjacker leaf springs that come in the 4-inch Skyjacker suspension lift. I've been very happy with this lift kit. As far as leveling it goes, the springs, or the leaf springs in the rear, are still being worked in. I do not have the top on it right now, so I believe when I get the top on, it will level this thing out perfectly. Right now it is sitting a little higher in the back. Now under the carriage here, I have replaced the exhaust. Nothing too fancy, just new piping the way through. I do have the Flowmaster 10 series on here that gives it a nice grumble and makes the 22RE motor seem a little bit more aggressive than it is. Well, a lot more aggressive than what it is. I've been pretty happy with the 10 series. Like I said, it does give it that nice rumble, giving the 22RE a little bit more guts than it technically comes with. As far as the side mirrors here, these are also not original. They're original to a 4runner, just not this one. There's one. Now, another noticeable mod is obviously the bikini top. This is from Killer Top Toys, and I have had this on here for quite a while now. It bolts into the stock bolts, holds on through here, and this thing's been great. Gives it a nice look, protects it from my son when he's in the back from the sun, my son from the sun. You'll also notice back here my subwoofers. They are two 12s, the Explode 1300 watts. I also have 2 amps, 1 amp going directly into all the stock speakers and another amp going directly into the subwoofer. This thing definitely bumps, and with the top off of this truck, you need as much sound as you can, because with the top off, it gets hard to hear the radio, to say the least. The bug deflectors here are ABS bug deflectors. They've been on, I've had them on here for a long time. They've held up to the elements. I have no issues with that. And since we're up front here, let's go ahead and take a look at the windshield wipers. I did upgrade recently the windshield wipers to scrub blade wipers. So these are the scrub blade windshield wipers, which it's always the little things, the little upgrades I always like to do. They work, I love them. Shout out to Scrub Blade. Now, a lot of what y'all been waiting for is under the hood here. This is the legendary 1 million mile motor, the 22RE. And I have kept it very, very clean. I have cleaned this motor more times than I can count. I just recently, when I got the truck back, went ahead and power washed everything on the engine, polished as much as I can, and this is pretty much as clean as I can get it. Everything is, of course, full throttle battery. It's the same battery I currently use in my 5th gen as well. It keeps a nice high voltage. At one point in time, I did have a cool air intake on here. For whatever reason, this engine just did not like it. I had more issues than I wanted having the cool air intake and not enough benefit to keep it on. So I put the stock air intake back just to keep it all exactly how it's supposed to be. Just recently, I did a radiator flush on here. I cleaned everything from inside of the overflow reservoir to flushing the whole system, making the fluid nice and clean again. For me, it's upgrading, but also keeping these things clean. It's got to be a constant. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. These trucks need just a constant TLC, in my opinion. So going into the inside, one of the owners, not the previous one I sold it to, but one of them, way before I even got the truck, had the side of the doors and throughout the truck all reupholstered. It looks like they rolled over with this softer material. The inside is something I want to redo completely. A lot of this is old, and as you can see, it's dirty. So I will be replacing all of the side doors here. The one thing I did replace is the handle. That was pretty beat up when I first got it, but little stuff like this, the door hatch here, it's stuff that I need to get repaired, and basically just kind of clean everything up here. But overall, for however long this has been like it, it's really not in all that bad of shape. That's why it hasn't been a major priority. Coming on to the inside, all of it's pretty clean. I do have the typical cracked dash, but this dash mat that I got off of eBay, I'll leave a link in the description of what it is. I can't remember what it is at the moment. I use that to just cover it. I also use one of these in the 5th gen just because I don't ever want that one to crack. I know the material they use in the 5th gen is way better than what they've used back in these days, because all this plastic is so brittle now after 30 years, but I've got it in there to keep it protected. As far as the top here, all original. This needs to be redone. The roof is actually in very good condition. I'm not 100% sure if that was all redone as well or if it's original. Obviously, you're gonna notice the steering wheel is aftermarket. A lot of people like to steal these trucks, so I have taken precaution in order to prevent that. I have a quick release steering wheel from NRG Innovations, and then the steering wheel itself, I recently just got it at the Sand Sport Super Show, which is Badass Unlimited. I'm happy with the wheel. I like the way it feels, and it's just one less obstacle that people have to jump through in order to take this truck away. As you can see on the dash here, we do have the 151 original miles on the original motor here. I'm very proud of that. Not rebuilt, not tampered with. And the rest, as far as the dash here, is all in really good condition. If you come down to the shifter bezel here is missing. I kind of made my own makeshift one. I do hope to track down one of these pieces, so if you have any leads on it that's not super expensive, I'll definitely take one. And coming up through here, little things that need to be replaced again. Obviously what I was just saying is the shifter bezel, but you know, little button pieces here and there. This is pretty, the armrest here is pretty flimsy, needs to be redone. I don't know if I'm going to replace that or just try to clean up the plastic. Probably just kind of clean up the plastic, get that repainted, because I don't think this is an original top. As you can tell, it's a different color from here, but I do hope to get that cleaned up and maybe color match it one day. I did replace the leather piece here on the boot. I added my Dragon Ball because I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z nerd, so it's just one of my things that I like to add. I always have a piece of Dragon Ball on one of my rigs. If you'll notice over here, I got a bunch of buttons. This is controlling the stereo and the pitch and the bass and all that good stuff. These are old buttons that need to be removed. This is the only one that's active, so I actually have to rip these two off and find a much cleaner lighting option. This controls my fog lights. Obviously not the original stereo, just your normal deck, nothing too fancy. At one point I did have these buttons working. I'll probably rewire this to these in order to get more of a cleaner look, and they're there already anyway, so shit, why not? You'll notice the original sticker here too. Pretty stoked on that. Not a lot of those survive as well, so just one of those things adding to the original. My goal with this truck is to kind of make it more original. I do have my little stuff like the steering wheel. All right, now coming into the back, a little bit more wear and tear. Here is the bench seats. Again, I'm not 100% sure if these are original. I believe they are, and you can see the wear and tear on them. One of those things that need to be replaced, and when I reupholster everything, that is the plan, is to redo the seats. As you can tell, also the sides here are all rolled with this, whatever the hell it is. Missing clips here I need to replace. If you know where I could get those, let me know. The seats, I'm not 100% sure if these are original either. They were there when I got the truck, but they look like they were for the most part. Now the back window does work on here. So when I do have the top on, it works fine. I don't have any issues. As far as the condition of the back, I still have the original panels here that have taken quite the beating. They also need to be repainted. I have that door actually right there, as you can see. The light still works. I do have an alarm on here. I also did install a kill switch. I have a video linked to that in the description as well on my channel, so make sure to check it out. Just another obstacle for someone to jump through if they're planning to steal this. And one more thing you want to check out is I actually made this from a little piece of plastic just to give me a little thing to set my phone on. Again, it's going to be replaced, but in the meantime, it makes for a cool little DIY.
Everything that you see on my page, my YouTube page, my Instagram page, Facebook, TikTok, all of it started here. So this is where it all began for me, and it's a truck that I'm very fortunate to have gotten back. I hope I've been able to answer all your guys' questions. If you do have any more questions, feel free to comment. Make sure to like, subscribe. It helps the algorithm, helps the channel. I am still trying to get it to grow, so make sure you check out Instagram, TikTok, obviously YouTube, and I'll see you guys in the next one.